Hey guys! Welcome to my first sewing video on this channel, which is a bit longer than just 1 minute. I'm working on my Fizzarolli cosplay from Hello Web Boss, and hopefully you see a picture right here, right now, from my design. If not, I'll blend it just in. As you can see, I changed the colors to more of a neutral color scheme, and I got rid of the black completely, as well as I added corset with some more details. And it will be a sewing video, so I do a bit of explaining what I did. I hope you have fun. The first part I need to do for Fizzy was the arms. As you can see in my lack of evidence for my failing, it was a bit hard, but I managed to do. I have 4 arm patterns right now, the top ones and the bottom ones, and I also have the yellow sleeve part over there, and I just need to cut out the 4 black stripes for his arms. For securing the seam allowance, I cut out one piece with a 1 centimeter seam allowance and the blue part with 2 centimeter seam allowance, and I just sandwiched the seam allowance of the purple fabric and with the seam allowance of the blue fabric, and ironed them down into the purple part so they won't show from the outside, so I won't have to deal with annoying seams on the inside of my arms. Yes, it took me an embarrassing amount of time to actually do these 4 parts, since I like in numbering my pattern pieces. I don't know how I can lack in patterning them. I named them quite nice, I would say. It took me around 3 hours just to sew the 4 parts, so it took a while. And now I need to gather them down so they fit into the black armbands. And then I have to cut out these parts. These are actually the bands I was talking about, the top one and bottom one. And then I need to put them all together. I won't do that today, but I will gather it all today. So I put on some music and go to gathering now. For his little hearts on the top of the arms, I cut out some hearts, maybe like 10 centimeters. And then I just folded the seam allowance inwards and ironed it down. And now I'm gonna stitch it with a tiny zigzag stitch around the edge. Yes. So that's how the finished hearts are looking right now. As you can see, they're not quite perfect around the curved part, but I will use lametta to sew around the border, so it will add a bit of extra sparkle and also hide these. Earlier I basted the arms together. I used just really long basting stitches, not only to keep it all together, but also to keep the ruffles in place I made earlier. As well as here, I will use the method where I'll fold the seam allowance over like that and then sew, so I won't get any annoying seams inside the arms. So that seam allowance is longer than that one. I also ruffled the shoulder piece, the yellow piece. It was like twice the width I needed it to be. I needed it to be 40 centimeters, so it was around 80 or 85 centimeters, I don't know. So it's a massive shoulder piece, but it needs to be massive. It needs to be big and round. You see the heart here. Yes, and now I need to baste that onto the arms as well. Yeah, these arms are big. I mean, hand for scale, they're quite big. I gathered that down and basted it onto the arm. Now I need to gather that one, the big circle, but I need to first I need to make the shirt so I can fit them in properly. So yeah, time for the next arm and then to sew it with the machine. It's not like I already spent 5 hours sewing it all, but yeah, need to sew on the machine as well. I finished preparing the sleeves so they can go into the shirt part, and that's how they look from the outside. I ruffled the piece up here so they fit snugly, and I closed the sides, and that's how they look from the inside. In this part I put an elastic so they would fit better around my arm, and I encased every seam. only that one is not encased since it must be elastic. But I used an overlock stitch so the edges won't fray. Yeah, and now it's time to baste these into the armholes, and then I will sew down and the arms will be finished. So I started with the top today. For the seams I will use French seams. It's basically where you put one seam, wrong sides together, press it, turn it inside out, and then sew it right sides together again. So the seam allowance is basically smushed into here. It's not the easiest thing to do on your first try, as you may see. It took me a few tries to get it here without getting any puckers. French seams are easy on a straight seam, but really hard on a curved. As you can see here, it doesn't look too pretty now, but I will press it and then it will look better, I hope. So I prepared my facing for the front of the shirt. I just double folded and sewed the bottom, and now I will sew in the waist, the shoulders, and the neckline, of course. These arm sides I will leave open for now. I will put them in later when I put on the sleeves. So I'm currently working on the skirt panels, and I'm just using some cotton batting and sew them between the layers, so they have a bit more grip and fall more prettily. As you can see, it falls much better than normal, just simple cotton would. Yes, I'm just simply sewing around right now, and then I use the lining fabric and hide the cotton batting in between the two faces. As you see here, I finished the skirt panels. I just sewed the lining to the outer fabric, turned it inside out, and then stitched around the edge. So I'll have it easier later on with the bias binding, and it will lay flatter. And also, I cleaned up these parts with the stitching a bit, so I won't have any puckers. At least, not visible ones. And up here, I also started with the shirt part. Where is it? Here's it. I just stitched the shirt to the lining fabric, and I will sew around, and then I basically sandwiched the shirt fabric between the lining and the outer fabric, so you won't see any seams. And I stitched the outer fabric into the into here by hand, so I will have a nearly invisible seam. So I stitched down the top piece, and I secured it by now with some pins. I will sew that down by hand, so I'll have an invisible and perfect seam, and all the seams perfectly overlap. These in a special. Yeah, that will take me a few hours, but so far it looks really good, and also the spikes are just on the perfect length for Fizzy. I currently cut out all the pieces for the bias binding for the dress part. It's like really big bias binding, since I need like 4 to 5 centimeters of bias binding on one side. So the width needs to be big. I hate nothing more than doing bias binding. It's such a tedious process, like cutting it all out, sewing it together, ironing it, and then sewing it on. But here we are. I'm gonna make about, I think, 6 meters, and I hope that will be enough. I pray it will be enough, because I won't have enough fabric. That's all I have. I have no more fabric, and I would need to buy some more, and I don't want it. So pray it fits. I'm currently doing the bias tape by hand, because I hate doing bias tape on a machine. It's so frustrating. It's even frustrating by hand, because that's how my edges look. I mean, these edges look really good. They're really pretty, really neat. But then come the inverted ones, and they just look like crap. I have another one over here that looks a tiny bit better, but it doesn't look great. I have no idea how to do these. I just take the fabric and just push it in here and then sew it shut, so it won't bother me. Oh, that was a needle. Yeah, doesn't look too great, but it's all I can do for now. Don't want to redo it, and just keep going. It's on the back, so you won't see that side. That's a bit ugly. But yeah, not great with bias tape. I hate doing bias tape. I hate it so much. Since everything is sewn now, that's the shirt. I finished all the bias tape, or I finished it as good as I could. It's looking a bit crappy, especially around the inverted corners. Just like I said, I have no idea what I did there. But to make it a little bit more pretty, I decided to put some of this shiny ribbon down, just in a seam, just over the seam, so that you cannot see the shitty seam I did. Yeah, it will take a few more hours, but it will look coherent with the collar and the corset. They also have this kind of a ribbon, so it will look a bit more coherent, and it's more glitter for Fizzy, so yeah. I only put it on the outside, like, I don't bother with the inside. It's just there, it just lives, and that's okay. I actually finished the sparkling band, and I have exactly that much left over of the band. It was 10 meters in the beginning, so yeah. I didn't plan it, but it was enough. As you can see, it's still not perfect, but it's a bit more pretty. You can't really hide these ugly seams, so I just gonna ignore it. At least these ones are actually kind of pretty. Yeah, as you can see, I just tacked it on every few centimeters. So it's not perfect. It's not done by machine, but it's done. I really don't care about the little stuffs here. No one will notice. Yeah, so the shirt is nearly done. I still need to attach the stars for the hand here. I made them yesterday, so I'll attach them later on. And then the shirt is finished. As you can see, the shirt is actually already finished. I did not film any of the last steps because I needed to rush for the convention. As you can see, I already wore it. It already has makeup stains on it, but happens. Okay, what is the rest I did? I made some little hearts here, just as on the arms, and just tacked them on by hand. I just basically used two hearts and put them together, left sides together, and then sewed around the edges, turned them inside out, pressed them, and then I tacked them on. Yeah, it's not the most perfect thing, but they are there. They look pretty. And I also made the arms, the base of the arms. It's like a star pattern, as you can see. Inside it's blue, outside it's red, and I also used the ribbon I used for the shirt for some more sparkle. Yeah, and that's all.